At first, I had no idea what I was going to make with these supplies. This was sent to me by Kendra from Late Night Creations as part of a DIY home decor challenge. Come see what I came up with. Hi, I'm Loli. Let's create something beautiful and find a little joy along the way. This challenge was hosted by Kendra from Late Night Creations. She sent Christine from Divine Designs and me the same exact supplies, but neither of us knew what the other will create. So after you're done watching my video, be sure to head over to their channel so you can see how differently we all used the same items. For this project, we'll be using our drop cloth. I'm not going to use the entire thing. Here, I'm trying to figure out exactly how much I'm going to use. But I knew this was too wide because I'm going to be using this embroidery hook that I got at a local thrift shop. I think I got paid about 50 cents for it. I am going to go ahead and remove the circle from the inside, and we're going to measure exactly how much we're going to use here. I'm going to cut here the length that I will need and make sure to leave about, I would say about 2 inches extra in both sides so you are able to clamp the fabric into your embroidery hoop. Now here I'm making it less wide. I'm just going to do a little slit and rip off the end. I want this to be, pretty primitive. So I'm going to just go ahead and remove a lot of threads from the horizontal area here so I have a nice fray look on the edges. And I repeated that on the other side as well. Then I'm going to reposition that wooden ring that I had in the middle here. And I'm making sure that my fabric is nicely taut. And I'm also going to be sure that it is centered well and that the top of the embroidery hoop and the fabric is all parallel and straight. And I had way too much fabric on the edges, so I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. And I just left about an inch behind. If you're enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to hit that like button. And while you're there, let me know in the comment section where you're watching from. I love to know how far my videos are reaching. And share, because sharing is caring and it helps my channel grow. Thank you so much. All right, so now we are going to tack this down with some hot glue. I'm going to add hot glue to the top section of the embroidery hoop as you see there and fold the remaining fabric down. This attaches the fabric to the inside wood ring alone. And I repeated this with both sides. Then I took the thickened striped fabric that was also sent to me, and we're going to add it to the middle of our drop cloth. But first, we're going to fray the edges off of this as well. I remove the middle embroidery hoop, position the fabric on top of the drop cloth, and reposition it back in place. And it came out so nice. Look how beautiful that's looking. But we are not done yet. We are going to make sure that this is nicely centered, that our thickened stripes are all straight, and then we're going to tighten up our embroidery hoop. And we are going to go ahead and glue down our thickened striped fabric. Friend, if you're enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're loving it, make sure that you hit that hype button as well. I truly appreciate it and it helps my channel grow. Thank you so much. And look how beautiful this is looking. Now we're going to take the 3 stars, the bigger ones we did not use, and we are going to attach it to this. I'm going to add hot glue to all of the tips here, making sure to be generous so that way it will be able to attach to a fabric. I'm going to start with adding one right here at the center, and I will be adding the other 2 on the sides. And this is looking beautiful so far, but it is still not screaming primitive, rustic Americana. So I'm going to take some of my antique wax and a brush and distress the embroidery hoop and the fabric. I went quite heavy on the embroidery hoop, but with any remaining wax, I'm going very lightly on the fabric just to give it a little grungy look without going overboard. I still want the stars to be the stars. Then I took some of this leftover ribbon that I had on here, and I'm going to feed it there in between the 2 pieces of the embroidery hoop. As you see there, I couldn't get it through just with my fingers, so I took the back of a brush to push it right through. Then I fed it all the way through, made a double knot at the top, and now this will be our hanger. It still didn't feel rustic enough to me, so I took some more antique wax and truly distressed that embroidery hoop. And that is it for this one. Please let me know in the comment section what do you think about this project. I love it. This one was unexpected. I wrestled with this one, but finally I figured out what I was going to do. I'm going to use the spindle and the pail and some of this nutmeg brown from apple barrel. We are going to take a brush and we are going to start stippling that nutmeg brown from apple barrel all over our tin. Please note that my brush is wet and this helps a lot with forming those little droplet kind of effect on here that will be pretty original to, real rusting. This is the effect we are going for. I did that all around and in part of the inside too. While the paint was still wet, I'm taking some cinnamon and I'm going to sprinkle it all over. I'm going to try to add it heavier in some areas than in others, just so we can have that, that random feel all around the entire can. There were some areas in which the paint kind of disappeared. I don't know how, but it did. So I added more paint to those areas and came back with the cinnamon on top of those areas. I was trying to not have big, areas where I had a lot of that brand new silver look. So I just kept going with it until I saw, that it looked generally rusted. And I try to be heavier too on the edges right here because usually water and humidity will kind of deposit or accumulate here on those edges and it will cause more rust in there. So I did that all the way around. Then I took it outside and gave it a clear coat of matte sealant. Now we're going to use our spindle and I'm going to take a drill and find a drill bit that is the same girth as our screw here on the spindle. I found the center of the pail and we are going to go ahead and drill that hole right in there. Make sure you keep your drill nice and straight and be very careful and use some eye protection in case any metal goes flying on your eyes. And it was perfect. Now we're going to go ahead and screw the spindle in place. Full disclosure, I was too eager to put this in. I was supposed to distress this first and then put it in, but I put the cart before the horse. Don't judge me. Crafters make mistakes too. So it is fine. Here I put it in and it was nice and snug. I would have loved to have a bolt so I'm able to put it in the back of it to secure it properly, but I didn't have it on stock at the time. So now I'm going to distress this. I just took a piece of sandpaper and then just went to town with it, removing most of that shine so the spindle will, look like it actually went through the same weathering as the pail did. And this is what we ended up with. Look how beautiful that's looking. But I did not like the hanger here, so I'm going to remove that completely, put it to the side, and then ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Just kidding, there's nothing there. All right, now we're going to embellish this further. We're going to take this piece of ribbon and these stars that were sent to us as well. I'm going to cut a section off at this. I'm not going to use the entire ribbon. I'm going to tie it right here. I want it to be kind of staggered, so I will not be having the tails be the same length. Once I'm happy with the length, I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the excess. Then I trim off the edges from the ribbon right here. I'm doing it in an angle. And this is so I'm going to be gluing these right here at the ends, but I don't want those ends to be shown at the front of the star, so that takes care of that problem. Then I'm going to add some hot glue to the edge of the ribbon and attach the star to it. I'm attaching the ribbon to exactly the midsection of the star, so that way the edge will be hidden. And then once that was attached nicely, I'm going to add more hot glue on the other side to glue down the rest of the star. And I repeated the same thing with the other side. I distressed the ribbon, and that is it for this one. Please let me know what you think about this project. We are starting this project with this wooden tissue box, and we're going to use it as it's intended, but we are going to fix it up. Here the hinge was a little bit wonky, but all I have to do was just tighten it up right here with some needle nose pliers, and now it is good as new. All right. To decorate it, I'm going to use flamingo red from apple barrel, and I'm going to mix it in this container. You see black there, but it's dry and it's not going to affect our project. Don't worry. Then I'm going to take some of the antique wax from Waverly, add some in there too. I'm going to start with a little first. I'm going to mix it together, and I'm using some of the water that I have from the container where I keep my paint brushes when I'm working with them, just to add some dilution to this. I'm going to mix this and see if that's the color that I'm going for. And I just continue to add more of the antique wax because I'm going for a color that is more antique. So I'm adding more on there and mixing it in place as you see there. And once I get to the tone of red, I'm going to dilute it with some water, and we are going to use it to create a stain for the entire tissue box. Using the same brush, I'm going to just go ahead and go in horizontal directions and then vertical directions, making sure that I don't have any drips. And I'm going to cover both the outside and the inside of the tissue box. It came out brighter than I wanted, so I'm going to come in with a piece of sandpaper. I think this is 120 grit, and I'm going to sand down the entire tissue box. And I'm making sure to be very heavy in all of the edges. Then I come in with a wipe and some antique wax, and I'm going to go ahead and add it to everywhere in the tissue box. I want to make both the raw wood and the red a bit more antiqued, and this was the perfect way to do it. It does adhere to the raw wood, and it also darkens up the red areas. And this is what it looked like when I was done. Then I took some of the thickened stripe fabric, and we are going to cut it in half. I folded it as you see there to mark the middle point. Then I folded it the opposite way as you see there, make sure that everything was nice and straight. And then I squared it here with the edges of my cutting mat. Then I'm going to take one of these cutting tools that I got from Dollar Tree. I ended up using the larger one because I folded the fabric in half. I want to make sure that I can go through the entire fabric, and I am measuring at 16 here, and I'm going to go straight down, keeping the 16 on the other side in mind so everything is straight, and this cut it perfectly. Now we are going to take one of these sides right here, and I'm going to fray both of the edges on the vertical section here, like the longest part of the thickened fabric. And I did that with both sides. Now I'm going to attach this to the middle of our tissue box. And we will be attaching a star as well. And we are going to also use some of this drop cloth also. I'm just going to cut about a 2-inch strip for this. I'm going to just put a little slit and then rip that piece off and cut off the other end because that one had the stitching and it was kind of hard to rip. Now we are going to position this piece at the center of the thickened strip. And although I have frayed edges and it looks pretty messy, that is what I'm going for, so that is perfect. I'm just going to take some of this twine also that I have, but first apparently I need to cut the excess there. I'm going to take some of this fabric fusion and I'm going to use it to attach the fabric to the box. I'm just going to add some here to the edges, but I'm going only as wide as the fabric is going to go. We're going to start by attaching the thickened stripe first, and we are going to make sure that it's centered, and we also are going to make sure that our stripes are all straight and that the fabric is adhered correctly. Here, once it's attached, I'm going on the edges and adding some more of that fabric tack, and I'm going to do that with all 3 sides. I will be leaving the back of it undone because my fabric was not long enough to go all the way around. Once I got to the edges, I'm taking this smaller rotary cutter and I'm cutting off the fabric right here at the corners and removing that excess. And I repeated the same process with the other piece. Now we're going to take our drop cloth and we're going to attach it right here at the center of the thickened stripe. And to do that, I'm also using some of the fusion fabric. And I repeated that with the 2 side pieces as well. And cut off the excess drop cloth. Then I'm taking the twine right here and I'm going to wrap it all the way around. I'm going to start with the back of here. This piece, I will let it go all the way over. I'm going to just wrap it about 3 or 4 times around, trying to put it in different directions to create more texture and more interest. Once I was happy with the amount of revolutions, which turned out to be 5 apparently, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this section right here and tie everything in the back with a double knot and trim off the excess. And look how cute this is turning out. Now we are going to take our star. First, I thought I was going to use this one, but it just felt super big. I don't know. Let me know if you like it, if you're one that went with this direction. Ultimately, I went with one of the smaller ones. And I'm going to attach it right here at the center. First, I was thinking, let me attach it here on the side. Then I was like, here at the center, but I am a creature of habit and symmetry. So, of course, I went with the center look. So I added some hot glue to the 5 points of the star and attached it at the center of that cord. And it wasn't rustic enough for me, so I took some antique wax and I'm going to add antique wax to different sections of the wood just to have it look a little bit more primitive and grungy. And this gave it the perfect touch. And with that, I'm also going to be adding more of that antique wax all over the fabric to also distress that. I did it on both the drop cloth, the thick stripe fabric, and also the twine. And that is it for this one. Please let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this project? I gotta say it again, I love this one too. All right, this one surprised me how it turned out. Let's get started. We're going to take the star that we got here and the music sheet. I'm going to position the music sheet right here at the center, making sure that the title of that music sheet of that song is at the center. And then I'm going to use my fingernail. And this was kind of brittle, which was kind of awesome because I was able to run my fingernail through the edges and it pretty much cut the paper. So I did that all the way around until all of the excess paper was removed from all the edges. These two sides here were a little bit too straight for me. They were giving me, short sleeve shirt to sit in there. So we're going to go ahead and remove the edges from here. Here I did it dry, but then I decided, you know what, it's easier if we use a wet paintbrush to wet those edges and then tear off that edge. And that just also gives you a tapered edge that's going to sit on that surface a lot better. And I repeated this same thing here on the top as well. Then I took antique wax from Waverly and we're going to do the entire star with it. We're going to start with a wet brush and some antique wax on the middle section of the entire star. Then I came in with this straight antique wax on all of the edges of the star because I did want that section to be a bit darker than the middle. And I went heavy with the antique wax right here on the edges. This is composite, but I wanted this to look like a solid wood piece. So we're going to make sure that it does so on all of these angles. And I set it aside to dry. Then I took the brush and with the leftover wax, we're going to distress all the edges of the music sheet. I'm just going to do little dabbing motions all along the edges just to have this blend nicely with the background. Next, I took some Mod Podge and we're going to add it to the center of our star. I wanted to go light, but not this light. So we're going to add some more Mod Podge to the center here and then spread it on all the areas heavier where we're going to be adding the music sheet. I am spreading this as light as possible, just trying to stay within heavier where the music sheet will be landing. And then just to make sure that the entire surface looks cohesive with the remaining Mod Podge that I have on the brush, I will also add some to the 3 corners that the music sheet will not be covering. Then we're going to reposition our music sheet as you see there, making sure that everything falls into place. And then softly, I will be patting it down, making sure everything is straight, and then making sure that the sheet is adhered correctly, that there are no bubbles or wrinkles. So that's what I'm doing here. And then once I get to the edges, I'm just going to start brushing that down to making sure that the edges are also adhered and that there are no gaps in between. And I'm making sure that everything is nice and smooth all in the middle. Then I had a little bit of that antique wax still left over on my brush. So I'm going to dry brush that all in the top of the music sheet. And that's going to bring in some of that more distressed look, that it will be more cohesive with this entire piece. Then I took a fan brush from my stash, and I'm going to add some Mod Podge to the end of that fan brush. And this is so I'm able to seal in everything into this piece. I see that the fan brush usually, it allows me to give a more even amount of Mod Podge over the surface. And at the same time, I notice that paper doesn't react to the Mod Podge as much as if I use a more saturated brush. And here has some lifting, so I'm just going to go ahead and add some Mod Podge underneath and make sure that the edge is completely adhered. Now we're going to take our dies that we got here. I'm going to use 2 out of the 3. And I'm going to position them right here towards the bottom of the star. But at first, I'm going to stain them with some antique wax. Next, I'll take a combination of some Titebond Quick and Thick and some hot glue to attach these dies to the position we had determined earlier, right here at the bottom of these 2 feet of the star. And here it's very important to make sure that the dies are nicely leveled as well. Next, I'm going to take one of these little planks from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to stain one of them with some antique wax. Once it was nice and dry, I'm going to come in and attach it to our dies. And to do that, I'm going to use a combination of the Titebond Quick and Thick and some hot glue as well. Full disclosure, the hot glue kind of left a space in between, which did not allow the Titebond to fully attach this together. So I ended up removing the hot glue and just using the Titebond, and this dried in about 10 minutes. Now we're going to take these 2 pieces that we got from Dollar Tree. What I'm using is this hardware. I removed the hardware from both of the pieces, and I'm positioning one right here at the center of our dies, and I'm marking exactly where my little screws will be. And I repeated the same thing with the other one as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a very small drill bit and drill just little pilot holes in those sections that I marked where my little screws will be. Repeating this with both of the dies. Then we're going to position both of these right there, lining them up with the holes we created, and then screw them right in place. Then I remove the hanger from that same piece we got this from, and we are going to attach it to the back of our star, and that is it for this one. Please let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this project? I love it. I think it's so unique. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, here are a couple more videos you are sure to enjoy. Thank you so much for stopping by. You're amazing. Bye.